Welcome to the Monday night, November 10th, 2025 Kent County Public Schools Board of Education meeting. I'm looking for an approval for the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All righty. I am looking for a motion to go into closed session for the, excuse me, oh, Shazam. Okay, sorry about that. Got ahead of myself. So we've had a motion by Ms. McKenzie and a second by Ms. Dorsey. I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous, Ms. Manley. All righty. I am looking for a motion to go into closed session for the following reasons. Topic is applicants for new hires, resignations, volunteers, transfers, extra pay, extra duty, and any other personnel matters, including superintendent's evaluation. The reason being that public discussion of applicants and employee names and personal information could discourage people from working for the board and contain sensitive personal and biographical information. Personal information is protected from disclosure under the MPIA. A second reason would be to obtain legal advice from counsel regarding the Maryland Values Act. The substance of the discussion is protected by attorney-client privilege. And the third topic is the discussion of ongoing negotiations with Kent County Public Schools bargaining units. And the reason for going into closed session is to maintain the integrity of the collective bargaining process. I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Dorsey has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All righty, I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We should be resuming open session at 6:30 PM. Reconvening the open session of the Monday, November 10th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. In closed session, we discussed personnel to be voted on in open session. We received legal advice. No action was taken in closed session. The three members of the board, Dr. McComas, our legal counsel, Mr. Costas, Dan Hushin, our supervisor of human resources, and Gail Manley were in closed session. So already, I am looking for a Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Swanson, would you lead us in that, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All righty, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. On the consent agenda are approval of minutes of our October 13th, 2025 open session, a donation approval, and personnel actions. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. McKenzie has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Dorsey has made the second. Is there any discussion? I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, Ms. Manley. Oh, I should, sorry about that.
Aye.
All righty, there we go. All righty, public participation. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing on minimum school funding waiver. We are accepting public comments on a waiver request to be submitted to the Maryland Accountability and Implementation Board for the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, what's commonly called the Blueprint. This board is seeking a waiver from 2025-26 fiscal year requirements of the Blueprint. Is there anybody that would like to speak to that? If so, I ask you to come forward and state your name. All righty, it does not look like we have anybody. All righty. Did anybody sign up for public participation in general, Ms. Manley? Thank you very much. All righty. Just a reminder, the rules for public participation. Speakers should limit their comments to 3 minutes. Comments about the actions or statements of individual staff members are not appropriate for public comments and should be referred to the superintendent of schools or processed through available channels. If submitting written testimony, speakers are requested to provide a copy to the president of the board. Please remember that this is an opportunity for the community to address their comments to the board. It is not an opportunity for dialogue. If you have questions that need an answer, please contact the superintendent or write a letter to the Board of Education, and a response will be sent back to you. Alrighty, our first person tonight is Elizabeth Tussing, and she is here to speak about mental health safety for our students.
Yes.
You're welcome. Thank you. Alrighty, whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, President McGee. My name is Elizabeth Tussing, and I'm here as a mother and as someone who has spent the last few years working directly with children and families in this community. So right now, our students are hurting. They're grieving, they're confused, and many of them are carrying emotions that they don't even have the words for. That happened recently at the middle school that has shaken them deeply. My own daughter is one of those students. She's trying to process something that no child should ever have to witness or understand. She's grieving a friend. She's replaying conversations. She's questioning her own safety. She's wondering if the adults in her school really see her and her peers, not just academically, but emotionally. She's not alone. Children in our district are asking questions that cut straight to the heart to the issue. My son said to me after a school announcement, "How do you expect us to come to them for support when they couldn't even keep a child's emotional state safe?" This is a child's voice, a child's truth, and it should shake every adult in this room. Our kids are telling us loudly, clearly, that they do not feel emotionally safe, they do not feel heard, they do not feel seen, and they do not trust the systems that are supposed to protect them. This is not about blame. This is not about attacking anyone. This is about asking the district to truly listen to our children who live with the consequences of these failures. When a crisis happens, our children are the ones who carry it with them. They're the ones sitting in the classrooms pretending they're okay. They're the ones going to lunch feeling empty. They're the ones absorbing the silence, the confusion, and the fear. What they need is not an assembly. What they need is not a generic message to come talk to someone if they need support. What they need is actual trauma-informed, accessible, consistent emotional care. What they need is adults who don't dismiss concerns as rumors, but take them seriously every single time. What they need is staff trained to recognize quiet distress, not just disruptive behavior. What they need is a safe, confidential way to support concerns about themselves or their friends. What they need is ongoing mental health support, not a one-day response. And most importantly, what they need is trust. Trust when they're hurting, someone who will notice, and trust that they speak up and they are believed. Trust that their emotional safety matters just as much as their academic performance. So tonight, I'm not speaking for any one child or any one family. I'm speaking for every child in this district who is quietly carrying more than they can handle. For every parent who looks at their child and worries if they're really okay. For every teacher who wants to help but doesn't have the tools. This is our moment to change how we treat mental health in our schools. Our children deserve nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Chloe Smith? Here to talk about an impact, or to deliver an impact statement, maybe? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Chloe Smith. I am a student at Kent County Middle School. I am here tonight because our community lost someone we cared about. A friend, a classmate, a person who should still be here. His death has left a hole in our school that words and assemblies can't fill. Since it happened, people have told us, if you need to talk, we're here for you. But a lot of us, it's hard to believe that, because if the systems that were supposed to help him didn't work, how can we trust them to help us now? We are not saying this out of anger. We are saying this out of love for my friends and classmates who are hurting silently. We don't need more moments of silence. We need to be heard while we're still alive. Mental health shouldn't be something we only talk about after someone dies. It should be part of everyday life at school, in our classes, and how teachers check in, and how we treat each other. We need staff who know how to recognize when a student is struggling, not just when we act out, but when we go quiet. We need safe adults who we can trust, counselors we actually see more than once, and a place to go when it feels like too much. Please don't let this loss be just another tragedy that gets talked about for a week and then forgotten. Let it be the moment our district decides that mental health is just as important as academics, because for some of us, it's different between life and death. Thank you.
Thank you. Stefan Officer, here to talk about bullying. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Stefan Officer. I'm here tonight as a concerned parent, more importantly, as a parent of a child who has been deeply hurt by bullying and lack of preventative actions within our school system. Over this past school year, my son, who attends Kent County Middle School, has endured ongoing bullying and harassment, not only from students, but at times from staff who have dismissed or minimized his experiences. Despite my repeated efforts and requests for help, the school response has been inconsistent and largely reactive. Problems are addressed only after a crisis occurs instead of being preventative through proactive support and intervention. The consequences for my son have been devastating. The bullying has led to a severe decline in his mental health. He's become anxious, depressed, and withdrawn. Eventually, the emotional toll became too overwhelming that he developed suicidal thoughts and was hospitalized for his own safety. No child should ever reach a point, and no parent should have to fear for their child's life because the school system failed to protect them. One major issue contributing to this failure in the district's bullying is the district's bullying reporting system. The bully report form is not effective and not accessible. It's buried deep into the district's website, difficult to find even for adults who know how to look for it. Most parents and students don't even know it exists. Schools are not advertising it, and staffs are not ensuring that it's being used properly or consistently. When students try to report bullying, too often they are brushed off or told to ignore it or that kids will be kids. Reports aren't followed up on, documentation is incomplete, and there's no clear accountability process. Without transparency or communication, parents are left in the dark, and children lose faith that speaking up will never lead to change. If we truly want to make our schools safe, we have to move beyond checking boxes and addressing these systemic gaps. The current culture where bullying reports vanish into silence in schools, wait for crisis to act, is not working, and I'm urging the board to take concrete action. Implement comprehensive bullying preventative programs that focus on empathy, inclusion, and respect, not just discipline after the fact. These programs should start early and continue through middle and high school. All staff should be trained, teachers, bus drivers, counselors, administrators, to recognize early warning signs and intervene before bullying escalates. Fix and publicize the reporting system. Make the bullying forum easily accessible. Every school's homepage with clear instructions, post information in classrooms, hallways, and in the student handbook. Ensure every report is logged, tracked, followed up on with both students and parents. Create a culture and accountability. Schools must be required to report data on bullying incidents and outcomes. Transparency builds trust. Expand mental health supports. Every school should have access to counselors trained in trauma, informed care, suicide prevention, and students should feel safe reaching out for help. Engage families in the community, because parents can be powerful partners when they're informed, supported, and included in the process. My family's experience served as a wake-up call. My son's suffering could have been prevented, and the right systems and attitudes were in place. We can't undo what happened to him, but we can make sure it doesn't happen to another child. Our schools should be places of learning, safety, and belonging, not fear and silence. It's time for our district to move from being a reactive to being preventative. The lives, mental health, and futures of our children depend on it. Thank you for your time, your attention, and willingness to take this issue seriously.
Thank you, sir.
you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Dr. McComas?
Okay, so good evening, everyone. And first, I'd like to start by saying thank you for those who just came to public comment. Well done, Chloe, and thank you for our two parents who spoke. And I know it's a difficult topic. And Chloe, I hope you'll forgive me, but I am going to ask that we have a moment of silence. As many of you are aware, our Kent County Middle School suffered a tragic loss this past week. And so out of respect and honor for our student and his family, I would ask that we take just a moment of silence right now out of respect for them. Thank you. We know that this is a very challenging time for us as a community, and it is important that we all navigate the emotions and of this tragedy thoughtfully and in support. As many of you called for tonight, it is an opportunity for us as a community to come together and to lean in and build resiliency and support, increase our kindness and our thoughtfulness and our attention to one another. And out of respect for the family, I do ask that people take time to continue to pay attention and speak to their loved ones about everything. We do have counseling services available for our students and our staff, and we have been checking in with our schools, ensuring that we are taking the time to provide support to our students and our faculty. And in addition, I want to make sure that our greater community and our parents are aware of resources that we have to support them, for their own emotions, and support them in supporting their child and their student. These resources are available on our main website. They're through the Cook Center for Human Connection. They are resources that are new to us as a school system this school year. And they are free, completely free to everyone. If you don't go through our website, they're also on parentguidance.org to support a lot of social emotional needs, not just the ones that are of the immediate tragedy. I do ask, and I want to clarify, there is a lot of misinformation out in the community. And I just ask that if you have needs, that you come and ask us for the support, so that we can get you the support that you need. And again, I appreciate everyone coming together, because again, this is a moment where we as a community make a choice to either become more supportive, kinder, and more resilient, or we make a decision to perpetuate inaccurate information. And so I just want to again thank those of you who came out tonight, calling for the same thing of greater support and resiliency. So thank you everyone for your time and your thoughts this evening for our student and the family. Transitioning to other topics, I also want to, Mr. DeVilio, I had asked, were we able to pull up the Cook Center website? Okay, excellent. Sorry, it just tells you I'm not watching. Okay, thank you for having that. I wanted to make sure we showed people where to find that. Transitioning a little bit, I do want to identify some positive things that have happened in our school community. We did recently have one of our golf students was a state champion. Our field hockey team won a regional championship. And just most recently, our brand new clay shooting team was very successful and won. And Mr. Hushin, you'll clarify what exactly they won. I know you told me and I just can't remember it because I'm a little...
And the cross-country team won a region championship.
Oh, yes, thank you. And the cross-country team won the championship.
Yeah, so the Clay Target team competed in the fall championship with the other Eastern Shore school systems in their first time as a formed club. They had great success. They took second overall in one of these shooting disciplines, and we had some outstanding individual performers who took second and third overall. It was a great day, and again, I want to thank all of you for your support and helping get that team formed.
Thank you. On that, I am going to transition and ask Mr. Hushin to come up so we can move on to the Golden Anchor celebration.
Thank you, Dr. McComas, President McGee, school board members. Tonight we honor our November Golden Anchor. We had 13 nominations that came through, and 6 of the 13 were for our honoree this evening. This individual needs no introduction. He is a former Kent County Middle School Support Employee of the Year, and he is a jack of all trades. I'm going to call up Kent County Middle School Principal Mark Buckle to come join me as we honor Mr. Bryant King. Bryant, before you join us, we just want to share some highlights that a lot of your colleagues have shared about you. I could probably stand up here for the next 15 minutes to read word for word everything that was sent in, but I'm not going to do that. But just to show you what Mr. King has done, he consistently goes above and beyond his daily responsibilities to make a positive impact. He has genuine care and thoughtfulness towards both students and staff. He's a constant example of kindness in action. Most notably, Mr. King noticed several students' interest in the anime comics and took the initiative to create a reading group where students can share and enjoy their favorite comics. This effort has fostered stronger student connections and encouraged reading in a fun and engaging way, something that is outside the scope of his duties as the lead tech at Kent County Middle School. He also prioritizes in building staff morale, consistently offering treats to staff by using his own money. She's a great example of someone that is constantly giving back to others with kindness and to the greater school community, which are two of the school's values. He is an example of an all hands on deck. He provides support to staff and students immediately. He is patient and hardworking, always has a smile on his face, and is willing to help. He is always willing to go above and beyond to serve, and he does so willingly and with a smile at all times. He is always on the first one to jump in and help. I don't know if there's anything that you would like to add to that, Mr. Buckle. I think that pretty much
Put me on the spot.
sums everything up.
Put me on the spot. Well, BT knows he is the go-to in our building. He goes above and beyond every day, and couldn't be someone any more deserving than him for this.
All right, Mr. King, please come forward. Congratulations.
All right. Big smiles. 1, 2, 3.
Please, please. Only if you promise to thank your mom.
I can thank both my parents because they both did their best by me and my brother at all times. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to my peers, the people I work with, and the staff in my building. I wouldn't be able to go above and beyond of what I do if I hadn't earned their trust and they haven't given it to me freely. And I wouldn't be able to walk around like the crazy I am sometimes with ladders and walking around outside trimming bushes and doing crazy things without their trust. So this is more their achievement than mine because they were able to give that to me so freely, and I appreciate them every single day. Thank you.
Thank-
Multi-tracker update?
It sure is. So, thank you. So moving on to our next agenda item here, I just wanted to bring forward to the board and the community an update. So the board, approved my request to adjust our nomenclature system for our policies as we're working through to lay eyes on every policy and update them. And if you can open up, I'm not sure if Henry is able to open up the attachment, but for board members, what you'll see on the one pager is the existing convention, like we have policies labeled, thank you, A and B, C, D, it's an alphabetical system. As I and the team have been working through them, because our goal is to align policies and procedures and organize them in a way that's more easily accessible to everyone. What you're going to see is this new convention. So policies that currently or previously have been labeled as policy A, or AB, and the ones that begin with B. As I was reviewing them, they really deal with board governance and commitment, so we'll be combining them, and they will be the new Series 1000, and so you can sort of look down this chart and see. In addition, the numbering system you'll see we have highlighted down the bottom, so there'll be a system that you can look at the number and know how that breaks down. So the first number in the new convention will be the series. The second will be the policy number, and then after the hyphen will be the procedures that correspond. Not every policy has a corresponding procedure, but where there are procedures. That's how they'll be organized. I will be bringing forward each month in the upcoming months a set of policies. So in December, I'll be bringing forward the policies that are currently in A and B. If you look over those policies, for anyone who is very much interested in policy, you will see there is a significant number of those that are what I would call kind of evergreen policies. Like the very first one is a policy that basically is the law saying that boards of education exist. Like the COMAR requires the board to exist. And so I'll be bringing that forward. There's a number of those that, and I'll send to the board which ones, if you look through them, they're pretty evident. And some of those I'll bring forward in consent agenda because they're not policies that change. They're just policies that, like I said, the one that says the board by law has to exist. There's not anything for us to change, but the ones that do need to be brought forward for revision or updating because the board hasn't laid eyes on it and updated it in a while, I wouldn't put those in consent agenda. I would bring them, individually. So we'll begin this process, but as the team and I are getting into this, it's a little bit more involved than it at first seems on the surface. So I just want to thank everyone's grace and understanding that, on the surface, this seems like a pencil activity, but it really is kind of digging in and reorganizing. I want to thank Mr. DeVilio for helping me think through how to put on our website as we get this all cleaned up and more easily accessible. Whereas, on board docs, it can be difficult to navigate. And if you don't already know where you're going, it can be hard to find. So that's where we are. So in December, we'll have some policy in the current AB system, and we'll be converting them to the 1000 series. So thank you for that update.
Two things. I want to thank Ms. McKenzie for sort of being the instigator,
Yeah.
the person that kind of put the train on the tracks kind of thing. And as a board member, and I've been a board member a long time, it's difficult for me to find things. So I'm looking forward to this being easier.
Yeah.
So I thank you to both of you ladies.
Yeah. I do want to also thank Ms. Manley and Mr. Poor because that's our work group. And I need all of them for us to bring this into fruition. So I just want to make sure I acknowledged everyone on the team. Okay, thank you.
All righty. So education services.
Good evening, President McGee, Dr. McComas, and members of the board. I have two memos that I would like to present to you this evening. The first one is, believe it or not, approval of KCHS graduation date and time. It's hard to believe that we're ready for this. So the purpose of this is Kent County High School respectively request approval for the proposed graduation ceremony date and time for the class of 2026. KCHS proposes the following, that the graduation ceremony be on Friday, May 29th, 2026 at 10 o'clock a.m. Rain date being Saturday, May 30th, 2026 at 10 o'clock a.m. Understand that the KCPS Calendar Committee this past year was able to review potential school calendar options, and they were able to include it this year in our in our school calendar that did go out. So that was a nice procedure that we were able to do. Survey was distributed to student, staff, families, and community members with the survey, including the survey, which included that graduation date. The survey results demonstrated strong unanimous support for the proposed date of Friday, May 29th, 2026 at 10 o'clock a.m. On the proposed graduation date this year, all schools will be closed for students to allow for staff professional development and also a time for any of our staff members to attend the graduation if they have students or family members that are part of the graduation. So I'm going to leave it open for any questions that you may have.
I can't remember. Did everyone have school off last year too, or was it just high school?
It was just high school last
Okay.
year. Yes.
So is that going to like add a calendar day this year? Like that was sort of the concern last year.
That was all, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That was, sorry. That was all part of what the calendar committee worked through.
Okay.
And this allows us, it's fairly common we might have teachers in other schools whose child is graduating and they want to, of course, go see their child and then also take their children, their younger siblings with them to see. And so we end up having like really a challenge covering substitute coverage and things like that. So the calendar committee was able to kind of proactively plan in this way.
Oh, is that what you? Oh, okay.
So Alden, just so you know that we have to be in school so many days and we have so many days that are professional development days. So if we don't plan for the calendar and don't include that, what happened last year or what we needed to do is that there wasn't any days to play with. So we weren't not able to give, to be a part of the number of days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and because last year there was like a separate agenda item that we had to change that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Right, so we made sure that we were proactive this year, moving into planning for last year when we did the calendar committee, which made it a little bit easier to navigate and provide those opportunities for our staff.
Thank you.
I see that you've got a rain date, so is the expectation we'll have it outdoors?
No, not necessarily at this point, so we'll talk about that as we
Last year,
go
we ended up
into.
indoors, which was okay.
Right. We'll, typically, we plan for it being outdoors. Last year, absolutely, we did it indoors. It worked out fine. Matter of fact, there was a lot of people that liked
Yeah.
it indoors. So, so we have to kind of survey some of our parents, some of our families, and figure out where we're
Well,
going to
things
go.
have changed, obviously, 2021, we were coming out of COVID, and meeting outside seemed so the sensible thing to do. And, 20 years ago, we had a lot more students than we have now, so the gym can pretty much accommodate, and the overflow can go to the auditorium. So, okay. At some point, I guess, down the road, we'll get a little more firm whether we're going to plan for outdoors, and at some point, you'll bring a graduation speaker to us as well.
I will,
Okay.
yes. We've been talking about that already. So.
Are there any more questions? Alrighty, I'm looking for a motion. The administration recommends board approval of the Kent County High School class of 2026 graduation date and time of Friday, May 29th, 2026 at 10 a.m. with a rain date of Saturday, May 30th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Dorsey has the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McKenzie has a second. Is there any conversation? Alden, you want to weigh in on anything? No. All righty. I call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Alden?
Aye.
All righty. It is approved. The next item, I guess it's still you, Ms. Hemstetter?
Absolutely. The purpose of this memo is to present information on a request for a student overnight stay to the Maryland State Wrestling Championship to be held at Showplace Arena in Upper Marlboro, Maryland on March 5th and 6th, 2026. So we have to bring these things ahead of time just to make sure that that planning can take place. This tournament is the state championship and the final tournament of the high school wrestling season, which will be that season starts November 15th for winter. Since this tournament is sanctioned by the MPSSAA, which is the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association, and as part of the state championship tournament series, this tournament should be considered part of the curriculum for the sport of wrestling. The trip will be chaperoned by head coach Chris Unikis, an assistant coach, and a female parent coach. Eligible wrestlers will be determined by the outcome of the regional tournament held the previous week at the 1A, 2A East Region Championships. Students will leave Kent County High School on March 5th, 2026 and travel. They will wrestle that night until about 10 o'clock p.m. And so because it's so late, at the conclusion of that Thursday night rounds, the team will stay at a hotel. And then on Friday morning, the team will return to Showplace Arena at 9 o'clock a.m. and wrestle again until 10 p.m. that night. So that's a very long day for them. Staying again at the hotel in Upper Marlboro On Saturday morning, March 7th, 2026, the team will return to the final rounds of the state tournament. Students should return to Kent County High School at approximately 10 o'clock p.m. on Saturday. So the administration is recommending approval of the overnight field trip to the Maryland State Wrestling Tournament on Thursday, March 5th through Saturday, March 7th.
All righty. I'm looking for a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. McKenzie's made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Dorsey has seconded. Are there any questions? Comments? All righty, I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ms. Swanson?
Aye.
All righty, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Dr. Keen, Special Education Staffing Plan?
Good afternoon, President McGee, Dr. McComas, members of the board. I am here tonight to represent the staffing plan for fiscal year 26. So since I have presented it in September, we have had a few additional changes that need consideration for approval. One of those changes was the language support classroom at Rock Hall Elementary School and the CARES program at Rock Hall Elementary School merged, which decreased one special education teacher. Kent County High School.
Can I interrupt for just a sec for
Correct.
people who don't know? Can you tell me what
Sure. The
CARES
language
is?
support classroom was for our children with significant language needs. Our CARES program was for children with significant medical or adaptive needs.
Okay, thank you.
So Kent County High School, we did have an instructional assistant resign, and that was from our behavior support classroom. That position is open. And in Galena, we had a decrease of a special education teacher of 0.7. That was not, that was mainly due to the fact that one of our teachers, our lead teacher at Galena Elementary School, originally under the blueprint, we had included her providing special education services for her half-time position. However, the school identified a greater need for her expertise in a different area because historically Galena always had 3 special education teachers. One of our special education teachers also is providing gifted and talented pull-out services as part of his duties. However, that is not an IDEA, which is our Individuals with Disability Education Act. That is not an identifiable special education disability, gifted and talented. So those students do not need specialized instruction to meet their learning needs under IDEA. So those services cannot be funded out of special education. So that position has also been decreased by 0.2, which now leaves Galena at 2.8 special education.
I was going to ask you how you
teachers.
come up with these percentages, like what's 0.7%, you
So
know?
we look at the time of their day. One full-time equivalent FTE or one full-time employee is the equivalent of a full day of providing those special education services. Because his day for an hour and a half is doing that pull-out service, that is why it is decreased, and then over the week it equals to 0.2, which means that he's a 0.8 FTE to special education. While he's still a full-time employee to Kent County Public Schools, special education is counted a little bit different because of maintenance of effort and excess costs. And then, of course, with that open position of the instructional assistant for our behavior support classroom, we do have a substitute who is filling in to help provide with some of those services at this time. And there is an open position of our special education secretary currently.
All righty.
So I am presenting this tonight for approval.
Well,
We,
but-
was going to say,
Yes.
initially it was for approval, but we have a quarterly meeting next Monday, and I'd asked Dr. McComas, it was a lot to read. And I honestly, I hadn't been through it all, and since I knew we were meeting in a week, I'd asked it if we could just review it tonight and have the opportunity to ask you questions, and then we would take a vote next week when hopefully we'll have a more robust contingent of board members. So I apologize for the inconvenience.
So you'll see that the plan, it looks very similar to what was presented in September, except there are a few crossouts of those positions that are open now.
Okay.
Will the final draft have page numbers?
I'm sorry,
Will the final draft have page numbers?
if you want me to add page numbers, I can put page numbers on it and send it back. I'm sorry, I thought I did that.
Just
But
what
I
I'm
can do
looking
that.
at here, it didn't seem to have But thank you. Just for the last meeting, I've asked all my questions already via email, so thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate the answers. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keen.
And if there's any other questions throughout the week, any board members, just send them to me and we'll get your answers.
Yeah, can I make a request maybe, so that when a board member asks a question, it may be the answer may be information that the rest of us like to have, and we don't get that.
Sure.
So is there a way that it can be shared with all of us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
All righty. Dr. Walker, cell phone policy? Thank you.
Good evening, President McGee, Dr. McComas, and members of the board. Tonight, I'm bringing for a first reading the Kent County Public Schools cell phone policy. I know you've had an opportunity to review it, so I'll ask if there are any questions or comments.
I have a question. In putting this together, I'm wondering what the group of stakeholders was that you used together, specifically since I'm curious if parents were involved, because I feel like that's the audience that we probably really get the pushback about ever since, school disasters. Parents want to be able to know that they could reach their kid in an emergency. So were some parents involved in this?
No, parents were not involved. We had the student services team. We had principals who gave feedback, and of course, we collaborated with Dr. McComas and leadership team.
Okay.
But we can certainly, I hear your feedback and question around that. We can certainly formulate a parent focus group.
Yeah, the only
to run
reason,
that by.
I think the main reason I asked that is that I think I'm right, that the bigger pushback, I think kids are okay if their parents say things are okay, and I feel like it's the parents that have been, not necessarily with us, but maybe universally have been more resistant to saying, no, you have to be off your phone from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. or whatever. And that's why I was just asking that maybe if they could have some input, that their input could be valuable. And at the same time, it's an opportunity to maybe ease their worries.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. And I would say that in my years in education, the cell phone is unlike any other object. And parents today do take comfort in knowing that their child has immediate communication with them. So I think it's certainly good advice, and we can
Thanks.
certainly work on that.
I had a question. In the general expectations section, it says that during the school day, student devices must be powered off, secured, and stored. And then it says in the next section, required to store their phones in backpacks, lockers, or in designated classroom storage. So does that mean that they can't have the cell phones on them? That they have to be in some other place?
So students are required to store their cell phones in their backpacks, lockers, and designated classroom storage. So I believe what we talked about is it depended on the age group. So go ahead.
Sorry, Dr. Walker. Right. So I hear what you're saying. So like if the procedure in your school is away in the classroom, like that might be in your backpack, right? Which might be with you. In the middle school, we have the teachers have the calculator pouches, which is where students are supposed to go and put them during the class schedule.
So it just depends on what the procedure is for the school or the class.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's, to me, and I know not everyone agrees with me, so I'll just say, in actually having been a school administrator and worked with different grade levels, working with a 17-year-old is different than working with a 12-year-old. Right. So, and I deeply believe, and this is work that we do not have in place yet, but that we need to develop, is digital citizenship, because cell phones are a part of the world and they are going to be part of the world moving forward. So I feel as if we have two responsibilities. One, to provide policies and procedures around making sure cell phones aren't distractions in the learning process. And two, a digital citizenship curriculum where we're teaching students how to be responsible users of technology, the cell phone being one of them, right? Because it's not, I think, zero tolerance is not preparing them for
Yeah, it's
the
not
world
realistic.
they're going to.
It's not.
So, and again, the way you engage a 17-year-old around that responsibility is different than a 12-year-old, right? There's a lot of cognitive differences and social emotional differences in students across those age levels. And so our policy right now is really crafted. We conferred with principals, so we took into account what procedures we have in place, right? And of course, these things can always be amended. One of the things I am researching and looking at trying to find the money for is the Yonder pouches. And that's something that a lot of our fellow Eastern Shore school systems have implemented. They piloted last year at the middle school level, found great success. Last year's budget deficit, that was like a reach too far in that moment. But I am looking to find that because that's a leasing model. So it's not a one-time purchase, it's an ongoing expense, but that's something that we're looking at for middle grades.
That's really cool, because I've seen those and I thought it was a good idea, but I thought it might be out of reach financially.
Right. Well, it's one of those, we weren't in the moment in June or May. But that doesn't mean a no forever, right?
Yeah.
That means we plan for this. So I know I'm getting a little off track, Dr. Walker, so sorry. But I just want you to know that this is where we are really right now. This doesn't mean where we need this to remain forever. And just to let everyone know, so last year in the legislative cycle, there was a number of bills that were presented at the General Assembly, none of which made it through the Assembly and moved into law. The Maryland State Department of Education had a task force, and they really published a series of best practices. And so, having a policy, we were one of the few systems that did not have a board policy. We did, in fact, have school procedures, but we did not have a board policy, and that was one of the best practices. So that's what we're bringing this forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's here, I'll just say one last thing, because cell phones, again, are unlike anything else I have experienced in education. It takes a whole village, right? It takes parents being on the team, which is why I really appreciate your recommendation, because it's, if schools are saying, time and place appropriate, and parents and us are not on the same sheet of music, it just leads to a lot of turmoil, so.
When I look at it, when I see, we go over about the cell phone policy, which I wish it had never been a thing where they could take the cell phones to school in the first place. I don't know when that began. And that itself foundationally would have solved this whole problem. Once they get used to something and are able to do a certain thing, then it's harder to pull it. And then we've gotten into a time where things aren't as safe as they used to be. The trust between school and parents, and it's not the same. We need to do several things. You definitely need a cell phone policy, because it distracts the children. It takes away from learning, etc. And I agree with all of that. But I feel like we need to build. And I know that Dr. McCombs, since she's been here, has tried to build community, open up, conversation and relationship with the school and the community, parents, etc. But I think we need to work real hard on that and earn that trust back, because I think it's a trust factor that makes the parents feel like that the children need the phone. And because they're thinking, if something happens, the school is not going to alert me, or the school may not even know about it or take it seriously, you know, and that's a problem because in the time of the school not taking it serious, a child could be harmed in a way that we cannot get it back. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. So these are the things that they're dealing with, and I know the school has to address the part that stops, you know, that hinders them from doing what they need to do. But I think it should be a collaborative thing between parents and the school and try to come to some agreement. Because it's on both sides. And both sides need to be answered. Not totally. Neither side's going to get everything that they want. But we need to do what's best for the kids and their learning and their safety at the same time.
Thank you, Mr.
I was going to say, I'm interested in
Yeah,
hearing
I
a
have a
student's
few more.
perspective.
Few more questions. For the restrictions on student use of devices section, in the second, in A2, I think, it says that students are not allowed to access them in restrooms, locker rooms, or the health suite. And I feel like is that like the nurse's office?
Yes.
So I feel like that's a place, this is just a thought that maybe students should be able to communicate with like their parents or, you know, text someone. That's more of a nitpicky thing, but that's something I noticed.
Yeah, I appreciate your point. That's where the school nurse should be in that conversation.
Yeah,
Right?
that
The school
too.
nurse should be reaching out and saying, your child's exhibiting these symptoms, like this is a medical expert is reaching out to your parent in that
Okay.
case.
That's also
That's
true.
the idea there. But here's what I will tell you. I mean, students use their phone wherever they decide, and I think that is part of our dilemma in that sometimes students communicate to parents before they communicate to school staff, and before we even know that there's something going on. So that's why, like, if a child's having a medical situation, we want to make sure our medical expert is in part of that conversation with mom and dad or grandmom or whoever is the family.
Yeah, like in all honesty, I don't think that kids aren't going to use their phones
Right.
in the restroom or in locker rooms
Correct.
or all these things. Like,
Right.
if I'm being honest, I just don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, the health suite was just one where I was like, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
and I understand your point, right?
Yeah.
Like the kids saying, I should say kids, student is like not feeling well. They want mom and dad to know, but that's where we want the health professional to be part of that conversation.
Oh, for sure, yeah. What's the other one?
I do want to highlight, if I may, just while you're looking, we did, for any parent who's listening, we do know today, you know, with medical technology, we have students who have some diabetes and some health concerns. That's still all permissible. Students who need to have their phone with them and available to monitor their health, just while we're talking about health, all of that is, you know, those students would be allowed to maintain that.
Okay. In the school-based alternative methods for securing devices, it says if schools would like to develop their own school-based methods, they have to seek approval from the superintendent prior to the start of the academic year.
Yeah,
So
that's
does
like
this-
the yonder pouches.
Yeah, so does that mean that for the rest of this year, no changes can be made? We just sort of go with what's on here?
No,
or?
it just means that I need to be looped in as a superintendent. If you're veering off to doing something different mid-year, I just need to be aware of it.
Okay.
That's all, yeah.
And I was just going to say the consistency. I mean, if a parent has children in two different schools, it sometimes can make it difficult for them to figure out which set of rules they're supposed to be following or making sure which set of rules their students are supposed to be following.
Right.
My last question was about the very last part of this. It says parents and students must sign the cell phone agreement to acknowledge understanding and compliance with this policy. And this may be a stupid question, but like, what if they decide to not sign it?
That's what I wondered.
Right. Well, we document that, right?
Yeah.
Because then, you know, as we get into the consequences, right? If a student is then misusing their cell phone inappropriately, then we have it documented that, you know, the parent didn't acknowledge that, you know, we have expectations and there are consequences that go with not following that.
So
It's the same as like with our handbook.
So it's not like if a student doesn't sign and is misusing, then we can't like do anything about it because they didn't sign. It's not like that.
No, we still
We can
have
still-
the
okay.
authority to have disciplinary measures. But we'd like to ask the parent and the student assigned to be in, like, we're all in this kind of contract, like a social contract, where we agree we're gonna work as a team to make sure that the technology is used appropriately and not inappropriately.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
with that in mind, just for transparency, when we think about like staff usage of cell phones and things, and I just wasn't sure if there would be an equal level of transparency about the expectations for staff and cell phone use.
I think there should be.
Especially when you get into the upper grades,
Yeah.
when there's more inconsistency, that can be more of an issue.
Yeah, I will, this policy doesn't obviously include the staff, but I hear what you're saying, and I can take that back and work with our union partners around clarifying expectations, because I think that's, again, that kind of partnership we would need.
And you did say that you would consider having the parents have some say, or at least understand what you're trying to do.
Yes, ma'am.
And then
So-
there probably wouldn't be a problem signing the contracts.
Right. We will definitely go back and form parent focus groups. That's why these are first readings. But then also down here, we would be informing parents in advance, and this would end up coming, just sort of part of our opening school procedures, so that parents are aware of expectations and that partnership.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay.
But I'm talking about just to get their fears and how they feel.
Oh, yes.
And come
Yes,
back
that's the
clarify
focus
that.
group. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And we will have that. We'll do that before we bring it back in December.
I just want to support what Laura said about the staff. I think it's really important that the staff model the behavior we expect our students to
Agreed.
follow, and it can be
Agreed.
very hypocritical, or, or you lose, can't think of the right word, but it's not a good thing.
Right.
And as you get into high school, and there are especially times in the classroom where students are doing, independent research or whatever, and a teacher has free time, I don't think it's fair for a student to be able to look over at the teacher and see the teacher's on their phone.
Mhm. I would agree, because what we know is students do as we do, not as we say.
Right, yeah.
Right? I completely agree.
All right, so we'll bring it back maybe with some
Revisions? Yep.
revisions in December?
Yep.
Thank you,
And
thank you
we'll
very
bring back
much.
the feedback from the parent focus
That'd
groups
be
so that
awesome.
you can see
All
what
right.
the parents said.
Yeah.
Right, thank
Cool.
you.
Okay,
All righty, thank you.
thank you.
Mr. DeVillio, the Maryland Values Acts procedure.
Yes, so I'm gonna jump out here. Are you okay with that, Mr. DeVillio? Okay, so I just want to, thank Mr. DeVillio and actually Dr. Walker and Mr. Hamlin for working together, and Mr. Constance for working with us. Maryland Values Act is a requirement. The General Assembly last year put forward some guidance, and then and Mr. Constance, correct me, the Attorney General put forward guidance that requires school systems to have essentially a procedure in place should ICE officials come to a school to enforce immigration. And so this is a requirement for us to have a procedure. Mr. DeVillio is our communication specialist, so I asked him to help me because I wanted to make sure that we were communicating out smoothly on this to everyone involved, since it could be a sensitive topic. If you go to the next slide. What you'll see here is our procedures really remain consistent with what we identified back in January, which is essentially if ICE officials come to one of our schools, we ask them to remain outside the school entrance, because the school building itself is considered a non-public area. And then you get the principal or whoever is in charge of that building. So if it was our transportation depot, it'd be our director of operations. If it was here, it would be our Director of Human Resources. And then they communicate to our, previously it was to reach out and communicate to me. Now, we're a little further down the road and the General Assembly put forward guidance here. Now they reach out to our Coordinator of Mental Health and School Safety. And then we have this procedure here. So I don't know, Mr. Davila, if you want to jump in, that's kind of like pretty much the cut to the chase is we ask them to just hold, let the principal know, principal communicates our safety and security, and then we find out do they have a warrant? Am I saying that correctly?
A judicial court
A
order.
judicial court order.
Yes, there are two types of warrants that are discussed in this. There's a judicial warrant that's issued by a federal judge or a federal court, and then there's the administrative warrant, and those are issued by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency itself. So those are treated very differently, those administrative warrants, because they do not have the backing of the court necessarily, right? So this is really following all the existing standards and protocols and laws in place at the state and federal level that we already do. This is all built on guidance and a model policy provided by the Attorney General of Maryland. So really, our only deviations are specifying which buildings that we're talking about, who would be that primary point of contact for each building, right? So we took that model policy and procedure and adopted it with our own identification.
Yeah, so, the policy and, the procedure is pretty straightforward. So we're opening for any questions.
I just have a question, not necessarily about the procedure, but have we had an incident of this yet in any of our schools?
No, no,
Okay.
we have not.
And all the schools' leadership and like the first line of defense for like the person that saved the vestibule, they've all been apprised of?
Yes, so we had a training or a meeting with the principals about 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
We've discussed this with the principals. We are preparing a reference sheet
So that they could
that
sort
will
of,
be handed. It's going to go out to all staff electronically, so that they'll have seen it, they'll have read it, they'll have had that time to digest it, and then we'll provide printed copies for the vestibules. Because at different times we have different people assigned to those spaces. So we want to make sure that everybody's been overall informed, and then we have the information there. It's got the key phone numbers on it, very big, bold font, so they see immediately, and they go ahead and start making that phone call that they need to make to put the process in action.
I guess a bigger question is like when I think about attendance and anyone that might be concerned about this and how they might be affected and if attendance has been affected, do you know?
Oh, student attendance?
Yeah.
I don't think we've had any significant attendance concerns with it this year. Last January, we did see a dip in attendance of some of our immigrant families. It did rebound as time went on, but there was, there was a lot in the media at the time, and I think it was January, February. We did see a decline in attendance for our immigrant students, but it did rebound, and we've not had a problem, like a noticeable fluctuation this year.
Okay, I just wasn't sure in terms of outreach and, making sure that that we're doing the best of our ability to make schools a safe environment for everybody and like how that's being communicated to all families in their language and just to be reassuring.
Yeah, thank you for that. We have a wonderful Title III liaison she is very engaged and connected, and she lets us know if there's something coming up that we need to be concerned of. Like last year, we very much work with her, and I know Rosie at the local management board is very much a partner for us to support our families. So,
Thank you.
okay.
Well, if we ask them, you said that they're supposed to be in the public, not told.
It's pretty much out like at the front of the school. They can wait out at the outside until we verify. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if they refuse to do that,
Right, and what you'll see here is it's written very clearly in there that while we're going to follow our procedures, in no circumstance should staff interfere with the ICE agents' attempt to make them, nor will we attempt to make them leave the public space, which is outside of the school building, attempt to conceal any person from them, or attempt to assist any person in evading ICE. So what we want to be cautious of is not putting our employees in a situation where they're going to violate like federal law or state law. And I don't know, I'll defer to Mr. Constance a little bit because I think there's a nuance to that. But I understand what you're saying is like, what if they don't kind of respect our protocols
or
right.
our area. Say, for instance, they decide to come in,
Right,
force
right,
their way in. What do
right.
you do?
And that's where we would be documenting all of that and communicating with our local law enforcement.
Yeah, what I can say is the Attorney General guidance on this, that the model stressed that this is not to be interpreted in a way that the law should not be interpreted in a way to encourage or allow someone to interfere with federal law enforcement activities. And so what we've done, the model is stress that, that for staff to follow our own procedure without involving themselves in federal law enforcement, not our.
It basically play by the book, play by the rules.
It makes sense, but it makes sense as long as they adhere to what you've written as well. But if they force their way through the door,
We can't control.
so you would just let them go through with the children and all.
Well, they'd have to
Even though we
break the
haven't really
door.
identified them.
Yeah, well, and that's part of why the initial thing is to ask them to wait outside, right? Because we have been, we manage the interior of the school, which is non-public, right? So, and all of our schools do have resource officers to assist us should I think there be a complication. I know.
So we would try to stop them from coming through.
Well, right. I think
endanger our
I think it's a matter of like really trying to be proactive and prevent them from being in that situation where they're going to try to rush the door. I think that's where, and thankfully we've not had anything of that nature. And I'm not above saying there are plenty of things in the world that happen that you can't forecast how things are going to go. But I do think that, this is where our legal counsel was advising us to try to prevent them is to violate federal law. And so we can't do that. We can't violate the federal law. And we can't ask our employees to violate the federal law. So that's where it's, if they were to come in against, like if they were to just try to rush in, yeah.
We just have to let them.
Yeah, I'm
That's
sorry
what
to
I wanted to
say
know.
that
That's all it was.
it's a no-win situation for our employees, in that,
This is meant to get the employees to get the right resources in the building, whether that be the directors of school safety, mental health services, the building principal, to ensure that appropriate next steps are being followed rather than any sort of intervention in the actual federal immigration process. That's definitely. And in practice, the Maryland Values Act sort of synthesizes existing practices that exist that are currently found in other areas of the law that doesn't really change the practice so much as it does just putting it all together.
Okay, I just wanted to know. My question was answered. If they force their way, just let them go.
Did you have any questions, Alden?
So the thing you just said about like it taking, not changing the practice, this is just sort of like making the information that they need to know available in a place, in one place, so that they know what to do when this sort of thing could happen. Okay. Okay.
You know, essentially, you know, our guidance has been if ICE comes to our school, you immediately notify your principal, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the principal was going to immediately reach out to me. You know, we're at a point now where we have our safety coordinator that can be, and he would be very quickly reaching out to me, and I'd be reaching out to the Maryland director of ICE. So we would very quickly have communication to understand what is the intent here. If we in fact didn't, I mean, the truth is they would have either a subpoena or a warrant, I mean, right? And so we'd have to make sure that what is being presented is valid.
When I say system laws, you know, what I'm referring to is Mr. Filio referenced the bottom portion of the last slide. There's already existing Maryland regulations governing arrests on school premises, searches on school premises, law enforcement activity on school premises, and federal student education record privacy laws, FERPA. So, you know, this sort of that existing patchwork already exists. It's just that the Maryland Values Act wraps it all together with respect to this particular issue.
Gotcha.
If you want, Alden, if you look under on, I don't have this numbered, but section or number 7, you'll see under there some of the COMAR references. Like I said, section B, number 7. So you'll see there are things that are already in place. And you sort of see how they line up here.
Is this, hold on, what document is that?
It's the, could you open up the attachment for me, Henry? No, that's the PowerPoint. There is a one-page document attachment. The procedure. Yeah, so if you slide down to section B, number 7. There we go, on that page. You'll start to see some of the COMAR.
Okay.
Okay. So just like, you know, if we take immigration out of this, right, I'll share with you an experience I had probably, well, 28 years ago in another school system in the state of Maryland. Law enforcement came to the school to arrest a student that I had who had committed a crime in a Macy's at the mall. So they came to the school, and then the student was called down to the office where the detective was doing, you know, part of the investigation. So these types of things have, you know, occurred not relative to immigration, and that's where this immigration is like a new layer to that.
So we just have to sort of figure out how it fits in and how we address it.
Well, it does follow the same procedures. The difference is for them to come into the school, it's really understanding their purpose, right? Is because you do have immigration folks who check on people who are in the immigration, like the process of becoming citizens, as opposed to coming to enforce a criminal. They've committed a crime, we're coming to arrest them because of a crime. And that's what this is really, that's what a lot of the ICE enforcement is, people who have been convicted of crimes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just not very familiar with a lot of this, so I'm trying to.
Well, and you can, if you have more questions after this, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, because this is new, so.
Yeah.
Any questions, folks? Thank you, Mr. DeVilio. All righty. Ms. Jackimowitz, or is it you next?
Mm-hmm.
On our Maryland School Report Card, star rating.
Good evening, President McGee, Dr. McComas, members of the board. The next two sections belong to me, and I'd like to share with you the first section, the Maryland Report Card. This is the annual reporting accountability system for the state of Maryland, where we look at multiple performance indicators. There are a total of 6 different indicators, and within those indicators, 3 of them apply to all areas, elementary, middle, and high. One area, academic progress, is only applicable to elementary and middle. And then, of course, the high school has the unique indicators of readiness for post-secondary success, as well as the graduation rate. So each of these areas are considered when coming up with the star rating. And this year, as we shared, overall, we did see most of our schools remained at the same level for the star rating. We did have one school that went down 1 star. And unfortunately, that was Henry Highland Garnett Elementary School last year. They were our only 4-star school. They this year are 3-star. However, let me tell you, our principals are crazy when they get this information and they unpack every piece of it. And we want to make sure that in the same breath, we also share that they missed that star rating of maintaining a 4% by 1 percentage point, a 4-star school by 1 percentage point. So again, and that could have been in multiple areas because it not only looks at achievement and progress, but things like chronic absenteeism this year, which was an area that we've all kind of taken a deeper look to see what's going on. Are there particular student groups that are having concerns with attending school on a regular basis? So it is great information. It does hold your feet to the fire in terms of being public with how schools are doing, not only in academics, but in all areas, climate, culture, and as I said a minute ago, the academic chronic absenteeism as well. So in a nutshell, we saw Galena increase in both math and English language arts, with overall a 23% increase in ELA this year. Rock Hall increased 14 percentage points in math proficiency and 23 percentage points in science proficiency. Garnett mathematics proficiency increased along with their attendance. We are seeing progress in science proficiency and educator survey results at the middle school, as well as improvements in high school with our English learner progress toward learning English with a 9% gain, and improved in the 9th grade on track for graduation rate by 10%. So again, we try to look at the celebrations, but I think the most important thing we glean from the report card data are the areas that we need to roll up our sleeves and do a better job. So as you look at the star ratings, there is a connected pamphlet that goes with it online, marylandreportcard.org, and it helps us go through and unpack each and every one of those areas.
What is I'm looking at the middle school. What is educator survey results?
So both students and staff take a survey, and that's telling you about the climate of the school, the overall perceptions of the climate. As an administrative team, I'm looking at our team members in the audience, the few that are in there. Hi, guys. We also basically, it looks at not only how students are perceiving their safety, so it does address things like perceptions of bullying, but also the actual structure. How do they feel when they are in the school? Are they feeling safe within the actual structure of the building as well? It talks about student to teacher interaction, student to student interaction. So again, each one of these indicators has multiple layers that we can go in and unpack and try to get to the root cause.
Does everybody take the survey?
That is given at all levels, elementary, middle, and high. One of the things that's unique at the elementary level is it is only our 5th grade students. So when you think about that, a school like Rock Hall, that maybe you're talking about 34 students that take the survey that then turn into a star rating. for the school.
No, the reason
so
I was,
it's kinda-
I'm thinking of older kids actually, but, you know, when I think of surveys, I think about like last fall or last year or this time when we were trying to do the calendar. You know, people don't do the surveys. So I'm asking you, does everybody actually do the survey?
The students and staff, the staff receive tickets. So they put their ticket number in and they are provided time. So yes, all staff
Okay.
members that are eligible to take the survey get a ticket and do participate and take the survey. And we do not have issues with our students participating.
And the only reason I'm asking that is to have a full valid number, everybody has to take the survey. That's what I want to make sure that these numbers are based on the full
Valid,
thing.
I think
You
you're
know?
right.
Okay,
Appropriate sample size.
yeah.
I mean, would it be possible for us at some point to get, more details about those surveys, like what, even just to get a better understanding?
Sure. We can actually,
We love that. We have a lot of information to share. We're always a little hesitant to put information overload out to everyone.
Yeah.
But I think it's very helpful to really see when you get into the weeds of the survey.
Well-
You can actually see the question types that are answered. You can look at the results of school survey results over time to see, you know, what's happening in the different components of the school survey. So we can share, and as much as you would like, we'd be happy to share that with you.
So I'm happy to hear that, and we're in a new administration now, but I will tell you, as somebody who's been on the board for 11 years, I'm still waiting to see my first climate survey. After having been told that the board would be provided that information, we've never been provided, again, predates
I'll get
Mary,
it to you.
Mary Boswell McComas, but I'm just saying I would definitely inform the board, because it would be in kids' own words and in the staff, as opposed to being filtered, don't take this personally, filtered through somebody who's making a presentation to us.
So I do have a comment on that, which is we don't get actual student comments in
Okay.
the survey, but what we do get are the results. And you can sort of tell numerically whether they're positive or
Okay.
an area that needs
Yeah.
improvement. So we also, it's important to understand, President McGee, that they will not give us the questions. So they release sort of older questions that they're no longer using. So we can be aware of question types.
Okay.
But this is really protected. I mean, in my role, I've never seen
No,
the
I
actual
get it. I
survey.
mean,
We
you
can't
know,
get in and
if you
look at
want
it.
honesty, you want to be able to preserve anonymity.
Right.
I get that, but I'm just saying, I'd like to see it.
Yes.
Yeah,
We can show you whatever we have, we can
Okay.
share with you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
we'll pull together something.
For the metrics of evaluation, did you say that academic achievement and progress are only elementary school or middle and elementary?
Academic achievement is all schools.
Uh-huh.
Progress is elementary and middle. It shows performance, how it's grown compared to previous years. I have to have my notes in front of me as well because each of these is slightly different. The indicator describes how student performance has grown compared to previous years on the state standardized assessment. It also includes student performance on the state science assessment and the percent of students earning credit in the coursework. And this all started school year 22-23. So it's looking for comparisons for the progress, which is different at the high school level.
Progress on the
English language arts and math assessment.
Okay.
And Alden, just so you know, the high school report card includes like graduation rate. You know, it has different criteria that don't apply to the elementary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if, I know most of the ratings didn't move star-wise, but do you know if our percentages were any different, better than last year?
Yes, so actually, I think we included in the slide overall, Alden, I'm sorry, are you asking like the percent last year compared to the percent this year?
Yeah, like the 53.34.
Right, and how did we do? We can get that, but I don't know that off the top of my head. We did not include that on this slideshow, but that is something we can access on the Maryland Report Card website. You can, there's a little toggle, you can go in and you can just pull down the previous school year and it will give you the data.
And this is the one where you can, like, principals can go in and see and manipulate the numbers.
Families, it's a public
Anyone?
site.
Okay.
MarylandReportCard.org. Anyone can go in there.
Thank you. And I'd be happy one time to show you so that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the Maryland report card? If it's okay, I will go right into the next slideshow. So we did share our summary this year of the beginning of the year measures of academic progress. I would like to just share that this measure is different than what I was up here sharing last time, which was the state assessment results. So now we're looking at the Kent County local assessment results. And this is something our school system has used for, gosh, and when I was looking, it was almost a decade already, where we've been giving this NWEA MAP assessment. And the purpose of this is different than the state assessment. We administer this so that we can collect baseline data each year and look at the growth that we are making. We have found that in most cases, students performing at levels 4 and 5 on measures of academic progress, that is predictive of them being successful on the state assessment, which is one of the reasons we stick with this. We feel like it's helpful in helping us know how to best serve our students.
Would you mind just a minute, Henry, if you could pull up, I think you had it pulled up a minute ago, that PowerPoint, right? And could you go to let's go to slide 3. Sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate. I just thought I might help us along so that as she's giving the overview, whoever's in the internet
This
world
slide
watching.
will help us zero in on the results of the beginning of the year MAP assessment for English language arts and compare results.
Thank you. You can leave it like that without the audio. Thank you.
All right. Making me really lose my train of thought.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry.
Okay, so with the baseline data for this year, I'm all messed up right now. I'm so sorry. With the baseline data for this year, what we were doing in the slideshow, if you have a chance to look through the entire slideshow, is we compared our baseline data from year to year over the course of 4 years. And one of the questions that was asked, and it's so helpful to me if you do have a question, because we give you a lot of information, for me to sort of elaborate on it, it helps me to be able to get that question at least an hour ahead before the board meeting. So I thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. When our board members watched the slideshow, a question bubbled up about Galena in particular, and saying, you know, Galena seems to be maybe not moving in the same direction as the others. Is there something different about that school? So, or about the progress or lack thereof. So again, this is not something that we prepare for this slideshow just for the board meeting. This is a way of life for us. We sit around the table at the district level, at the school level, at the classroom level, trying to unpack and understand the information itself. So let me share with you the work of Principal Becky Yoder, her team, and also our district team in terms of our insights from the beginning of the year fall MAP data. The first thing is it's a universal screener. So when we administered this assessment, we've administered the same assessment for multiple years, use it as baseline data. It can be used for growth over time, which again is the intent for Galena, looking year to year. If we can pull up slide without the voice, if we can look at slide 4 for just a moment. This is a school comparison of the English language arts school. Scores for Galena Elementary School over the course of 4 years. And from fall of 23, I did not include 22, that was right on the heels of COVID, and it was slightly different for that year. But the other years, looking at the English Language Arts achievement for Galena Elementary School, pretty much they have remained flat in ELA. And each bar represents a different cohort of students. So what you're looking there is over time, grades 3, 4, and 5, in years 23, 24, and 25. Their baseline data is pretty flat. And if we could move now to slide 8.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, those are the same kids each year though, right?
Same grade levels, but different students
Different
in those
groups of
grades
kids.
each year.
Well, I mean, okay.
Yeah, it is. It's confusing. So slide 8 displays the fall math data by school over the course of 4 years. So if we look at this slide, Galena, from fall of 2023 to 2025, they represent different students each year, but they do show a decrease in the overall baseline data. And I do believe this is the slide that we were referring to, the math achievement. So it is noteworthy to just point out that this year's fall data, when we submitted our data for the slideshow, we were asked to include the tested grades because that is how we set our goal this year on our system-wide achievement goal, grades 3, 4, and 5. So that may be a little nuance that influences some of the overall scores as well. In looking at this more deeply, our teachers find it helpful not to compare last year's students to this year's students, but to sort of look at what we call cohorts of students. So for example, and again, I'm going a little deeper with Galena just to sort of help us all think through this together. When conducting the root cause analysis, they compared Galena's second graders last year, where they were at the end of the year on the MAP assessment in levels 4 and 5 to this fall. And what we discovered is at the end of last school year, the second graders, 11% were scoring at levels 4 and 5. And the baseline, same students, third graders this year, beginning of the year, moved from 11% to 18%. That will guide the goal that we set for them for the end of this year. So it will be an increase of 4 percentage points by the end of this year on the same assessment. So there's your growth. You want to look at it over time. If you look on this slide at the Galena Elementary School, the third grade students at the end of last school year, 12% were scoring in levels 4 and 5. And in the fall, it remained flat, 12% at the end of the year, 12% at the beginning of the year. And Galena's fourth graders last year started scoring 18% were at the highest level, and the fall of this year increased to 20% at the highest level. So again, this is baseline data. It's setting the stage for the goals that we are setting over the course of this year for our students. But at Galena Elementary School in particular, they really are focusing on 3 things in terms of math instruction. And our team felt like this was something we would like to share with you in response to what's causing that and what do we notice and what are we doing differently this school year to improve those scores. So the very critical piece is what we call the core instruction. You're well aware of what we use to teach mathematics, the illustrative math. We've adopted that now for a number of years. And at this point, what we're learning is the daily routines and rituals that are part of math instruction must become second nature in our delivery of the lessons. So that is something that the roles that you have afforded our schools this year, known as a lead teacher. Galena Elementary School has a lead teacher in their school, and they have their other teachers that are not tied to students working with the grade level teams to really give that coaching and support that's needed to improve Tier 1 instruction. That includes things like when you're planning lessons, keeping in mind your students and their individual needs in partnership with special education and the work that Wendy and her team are doing. We all agree that everyone needs to understand students with special needs. We have something called a snapshot, and it's not a snapshot that belongs to the special educator. It's every adult that works with that child. We need to know what's on there and how to best plan. So again, this is a big shift in how we're approaching instruction this year. PLC is not new, but that is something that Principal Yoder is really strengthening this year, her leadership and her work with the PLCs. And also the second piece, and again, when we share our plan, I always hesitate because what we don't want to do is make it sound like an excuse as to why the data is like it is. I think it's important to understand the context. That's the point of this. Galena Elementary School has 6 teachers teaching grades 3, 4, and 5, 2 at each grade level. Half of the teachers are new to the grade levels this year. 3 of the 6, this is their first year in that grade teaching. The lead teachers are providing the monitoring and support, not only for the instruction, but of the new teachers in that grade level as well. There is a lot to learn when you are a first-year teacher in a new grade level. And then most importantly, because they are a school that is an ATSI school, knowing that they need to work.
What's
What does, I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm thinking, do I even know what it stands for now? Targeted, help me, Dr. McComas.
Yeah, it's targeted school improvement.
What's the A, though?
And there's some schools across the state, they are identified at the state level as a school that has targeted school improvement, meaning they have specific areas that they need to get improve on. There are
And is
some-
that a designation that is given them by the state?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, identified by the state. Some schools across the state are like a more intense level are schools that are referred to as comprehensive school improvement. So the ATSI is, the state's not saying everything isn't working, but there's certain areas that have to improve. And along with that, they get some additional funding to help
That's where I was
support that.
going. Right, so they have had an opportunity to also provide additional resources and support to improve math instruction at Galena Elementary School. These include what you would call a research-based program. Origo Math Fluency was purchased at that level, and that was to help with building the fluency and also understanding how we can help students better approach problem solving. So there are a combination of resources used there. They also use some of their funding for additional support and tutoring for students, particularly multilingual learners. So again, my hope was tonight just to go a little deeper with Galena, because that was a question that bubbled up when we looked at our fall data. But I think the most important thing is to be transparent about where we are now and keep our eyes on it so that when we come here at the end of the year, we can look for that consistent growth across all schools and across all student groups. Any questions?
I have a few. I apologize for not emailing sooner. I will do that in the future.
No worries.
But on slide 3, I think when I listened to your audio, you said that departmentalization was a big part of what was helping. I think.
Yes.
In grade, I don't know.
3,
but
4,
I
and
was.
5.
Yeah. And I was wondering, from what I understand, that's like one teacher teaching that only that subject, right? And that's, I remember that happening in 5th grade, sort of as a transition towards middle school. And is that sort of only feasible for the older elementary grades, or like, would it be possible to start it sooner? And would that help maybe? And has like that helped, have you seen that help students transition to middle school? Or I don't know, I was just wondering.
That's a great question. So our principals in all 3 elementary schools this year are making the shift to offer departmentalization in grades 3, 4, and 5.
Nice.
What that allows you to do is develop that deep content knowledge of the grade level standards. When you think about an elementary teacher responsible for teaching every subject, yes, you have the skills and the knowledge to deliver those lessons. But as you can see from the data that we're looking at in mathematics, sometimes you need to go home and relearn some of the strategies and keep updated on the best way to deliver those lessons to meet the individual needs of all students. So all 3 principals have said, please, when you speak about the data tonight, be sure to mention that. So thank you, Alden, for saying something. But in particular, the schools that were doing it, Garnett really named that as one of their innovative strategies to change the results in grades 3, 4, and 5, was having that opportunity to really departmentalize.
Yeah.
You ask about all grade levels. It is a little tricky because when you're talking about early childhood, in early childhood, you want a child's day to make sense, and you want that flow, that ebb and flow, and that flexibility sometimes to have a little bit longer with hands-on science because you're doing a lab that day, yet you might have more time for that and a little bit less time in the English language arts hour-and-a-half block on that day. And if you are teaching all subjects to your class, you have a lot more flexibility. You don't have to have students standing outside your door waiting to come into math because you're going to switch classes. Also, it's building that sense of community. Rule changing is hard for little ones. So if they're working with 4 adults, You know, Mr. Hushin's class might be a little different, the way he conducts it and interacts it and his expectations. And when they come into my classroom, I have a different approach, which older kids can adapt to that. But when you're 4 and 5, and now we have them 3, 4, and 5, you want to have that consistency with that sense of community and also that flexibility with the instruction. So I don't know that there's a defining like breaking point. This is where it becomes developmentally appropriate, but we're playing with it a little bit.
No, I think, yeah, now thinking about like having first graders rotate around classes the
Yeah.
entire day sounds a bit like my nightmare, but third grade sounds like a good starting point. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
one more. On slide 7, I was just wondering about that 5th grade jump from fall 24 to fall 25. And if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Since I just closed my laptop, can
Which
you tell
slide
me
did you
which
say,
slide is
7.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
It's the math comparison
you.
by grade level?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll catch right up.
And your question was about 5th grade? Is that
Yes,
right?
it was like below, looks
Yeah.
like 8 or 9% to almost 30%.
Right,
Mhm.
that's huge.
Can I just comment while you're looking, Ms. Jekyll? So I will say this cohort of students, if you look across all of our data sets, whether it's the measures of academic performance that we're looking at today or our MCAP state test, this particular cohort of students is they are like far exceeding at every grade level. Like if we went back and looked at 4th grade and 3rd grade for them, they continue to kind of reach above. It's a particular cohort to watch. That's also a cohort that when we began to implement Orton Gillingham had some initial exposure to that. And I think, and they haven't had the benefits of like succeeding groups of students. The teachers have had more time to get the full training and to practice the way of teaching. And so, but that's one group where you started the training, I think, mid-year.
You're
Is
right.
it? So it's a particular cohort to me. The other thing is I would recognize that particular group of students is the first group that has been in school after the pandemic. Like they never had the disruption.
Okay.
They came to school as kindergartners, kind of like after the disruption was
Right, they,
had
our,
already in
our
5th
5th
grade.
graders
Yes,
were hybrid.
because it's
Yeah.
2026 this year.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a particularly interesting data point for us as a
That is
community.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I get
We'll have
kind
to
of
see if
giddy
it
over it.
continues.
It's encouraging.
I know,
Yeah.
it is. And I would just like to do a shout out for our middle school here. I mean, if you look at that, you see our 6th graders are starting 6th grade stronger than the previous years. And I'm looking at the math one. Our 7th graders starting the year stronger than the previous groups were able to start. 8th grade doing better than the last 2 years, not as good as the group of students who are now in high school. So again, keep in mind that this is our starting point for this year. And this is the starting point of how they are doing on their current grade level, right? So this is where they are against 6th grade or whatever grade they're in, standards at the beginning of the year. Sorry,
nothing
I didn't
else
mean
to
to
add. That was
repeat. I
perfect.
just,
Thank you.
I geek out when I get a chance to talk about it.
Are there any other questions? Did you get your questions?
Yep, I'm good.
Alrighty. Thank you, Mrs. Jackalowitz.
Thank you.
We'll now go to Administrative Services, Mr. Kirby.
Thank you, and thank you, Henry, for your flexibility with us.
All right. Good evening, President McGee, Dr. McComas, members of the board. I'm here tonight to present our financial information as of October 31st, 2025. In front of you, first item is going to be our revenue thus far this year. So for Fund 1, we've had about almost 14.6 million received so far. And then for Fund 5, our food service fund has received about 427,000 so far this year for a total just north of 15 million of our projected about $35 million in revenue for the year. So further down, we'll get into our unrestricted current expense fund. Total budget allocated amount is just north of 35 million. Thus far, we've encumbered or expended about 23.8 million, leaving us with about 11.2 in our remaining balance for the rest of the school year, or fiscal year, sorry. Any questions so far? Good, okay. Moving further, Fund 3, so that's our school construction fund. As you see, we've started to have some expenditures here that's related to design for the middle school and any other consulting fees so far with Dr. Lever and his services for the middle school. Next up, we got Fund 5, which is our food service fund. Thus far, they've expended or encumbered about 1.1 million of their 1.7, leaving them with about 570,000 for the rest of this fiscal year for them. And finally, we'll have our restricted fund, which is all of our grant-related funding. Our budget amount is about 5.4 million. Thus far, we've encumbered or expended almost 3.9 million, leaving us with just about 1.6 million left for the rest of the year for our restricted funds. Any questions overall?
Crickets.
Good then. Sorry, Henry, I don't want to mess you up if you want to. All right, so that was information only. And then next item for you is a sole source justification for an in-person speech therapist. So I know Dr. Keene is here tonight for any specific questions. I think everything is summarized in the summary there. That we're going to be providing required speech language services to students for the school year. They'll be providing contracted services outlined within each student's IEP. And this is qualifying as sole source due to this being the only vendor that was willing to provide in-person services, as opposed to all other vendors that we reached out to, which would only provide virtual services.
How many students are we talking about?
We have 107 students who receive speech services. Of those 107, we have one virtual therapist who is part-time. She sees about 23 students. And we have one part-time face-to-face speech language therapist. She's required to do the IEP meetings, all of the IEP goals, the IEP writing, design the curriculum that is being used or the treatment plans that are being used for our students. Then we have one speech language pathology assistant who is currently in school to become a speech language pathologist. And then she would hopefully, not hopefully, she is planning on joining us full time, but she implements those plans that are written by the speech language therapist. So we have been, over the last couple years, looking for full-time speech language therapists. It's very difficult to find speech pathologists because everybody wants to do virtual. ASHA opened up the doors and said that virtual was acceptable, and Maryland approved virtual services for IEP services. So therefore, everybody wants to be virtual, which causes more of a headache for us because we know virtual does not work for all of our students. So therefore, our speech language pathologist and speech language pathologist assistant do see those students that virtual will not work for. We try to keep the virtual for our high school, middle school, upper elementary school students. And then we keep our face-to-face with speech language therapists with our younger students and more any child with a significant cognitive disability.
And I was wondering just if you could share how the services will work in terms of continuity, consistency with providers.
So it's one provider. We interview her just like we would if we were hiring her ourselves. The fee that they charge us encompasses the healthcare, FICA, payroll taxes, all of that. So we just contract with this company to provide us with the therapist. The therapists that we did interview expressed interest in staying for several years. Some companies, when they find, just like a recruiting company, when they find somebody for you and you want to bring them in as your employee, if the employee wants that. Some people really like working for contractors because they may not, a lot of people who are young don't want to stay in one area, so they're able to be
Like being a
located
traveling
throughout.
nurse.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
So this person, Ms. McKenzie, is one person. She's working with all of the students, so she would do everything just like if she was their full-time employee.
Sounds like a heavy caseload for one person with, all the responsibilities, in addition to the actual one-on-one,
Doing
all
the
that
therapy.
other stuff that has to be done. Wow.
So the other one's retained, though, the one that's working on the IEPs and then the assistants retained, you're just adding an additional, is that?
Yes, so we
Correct.
have had an opening. In the staffing plan, we talked about the opening, so she would fill that opening.
Gotcha.
Okay. This is a one-year contract?
It would start as a one-year contract with the ability to hopefully renew.
Right.
Our virtual speech language pathologist has been with us for the last 3 years, so
Okay.
she has been able to establish that relationship with the students. She knows them. She's been able to work with the parents, communicate with the parents, just like she would if she was here.
Any other questions? All righty, I'm looking for a motion. The administration recommends approval by the Board of Education to award the in-person speech therapist contract for school year 2025-26 to Siegel Student Services Products via sole source in the amount of $100,425.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. McKenzie's made the motion. Is there a
I
second?
second it.
All righty, any questions, comments? I call for, by the way, Ms. Dorsey had the second. I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. All righty, one last thing under Administrative Services, Mr. Hushin.
Thank you, President McGee, Dr. McComas, school board members. Tonight before you for approval, I have our 2025-2026 Board of Ed negotiating team. We will need your approval. As you are well aware, we sit down with our 3 bargaining units each year to conduct the negotiations for updated agreements for the following school years. I serve as your chief negotiator. Joining me on the team is our Director of Teaching and Learning, Gina Jakubowicz, Director of Finance, Interim Director of Finance, Craig Kirby, and our Supervisor of Accountability and CTE, Thomas Porter. And then Adam Constas serves as an advisory member when needed. So with that, the administration recommends approval of the 2025-2026 Board of Education negotiations team.
Is the only change Mr. Kirby taking the place of Ms. Stewart, or are there other changes in this group?
That's the only change. It's been
Okay.
the same team since I've been
Okay.
leading the charge for you all.
Are there any questions before I ask for a motion? All righty, I'm looking for a motion to approve the 2025-26 Board of Education negotiations team.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Dorsey made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McKenzie, second. Any comments or questions? I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now. All righty.
Aye.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board discussion. I'll start with you, Ms. Swanson.
Okay. First of all, I would like to offer my condolences to the family who lost their child. It is a terrible thing to go through, and I'm extremely sorry for your loss. I've been thinking about it a lot over the weekend and the last week, and it's really, really hard, and I know the whole community is really feeling it right now, so I'm very sorry. I also wanted to follow up on something I talked about a few meetings ago regarding a change to the structure of the Student Advisory Council. Talked to Dr. McComas about this a little while ago. I've decided to focus more specifically on gathering input on agenda items so I can more directly get more impactful opinions from student body on decisions on the board, because like I think last year it turned into a little bit more of like a project-based thing, which is cool, but I think I want to shift it more to like going through agenda or meeting agendas beforehand and like getting their opinions on specific items, because I feel like that's a more impactful way to sort of figure out what students are actually thinking, rather than saying like, okay, what do you want from the school board? Because that's like a little bit, you know, fuzzy. And I think I also want to open it up to more students, because this sort of format allows more flexibility of opinion. Like if people just want to show up once a month and say their piece, and then they don't have to like have as much obligation to it. So that's sort of like a overview of the things that I want to try. I didn't have a chance to gather people for a meeting before this meeting, but I want to try it for the December meeting to just sort of have it more of an open come and listen to. I'll sort of present. Hopefully I'll have Dr. McComas there, and we can go through and sort of explain what's going to be going on at the meeting, and then people can say, what about this? Tell me about this. I don't like this. So I'm gonna try to try that out next December, and I just wanted to update you all and let you know, in case you were wondering about how that was going. I'd also like to take a moment to advertise for anyone watching the American Exchange Project again. This is the program that Dr. Saunders and I came and presented last February, I think. It is a free week-long domestic exchange program available to seniors to participate in the summer after they graduate. If you are a student interested in learning more, the interest forms are now available and have been emailed to you multiple times, and as well as interest forms for adults to sign up to be host families. So you can contact me or Dr. Karen Saunders if you have more questions. We're trying really hard to advertise this right now, so tell people about it, and tell them to email me or Dr. Saunders. And that is all I have today.
Can I ask you about your student advisory council? Or, I mean, time goes so quickly before you know it, you will have graduated. Are you making plans to have a successor or somehow sustain this?
I mean, yeah, I hope I can get this new format rolling and make it easy to pass on to the next SMOB, I'm hoping, because I think...
Is that the expectation that would come under the purview of the SMOB? Is that what you're thinking?
I mean, I can't dictate that.
No, I know, but I'm just thinking that's a good idea. Yeah.
I mean...
Especially going into it, a SMOB should think, hey, that might be one of my responsibilities.
Yeah, I mean, I know we had something similar to this a few years ago, and then it just sort of petered out. So I'm hoping if I get this rolling, and I mean, I'm sure that, and yeah, I think I would like it to be an expectation, but I can't require that.
I know.
But I think it should be, because I think it's important, and it makes sense that a SMOB would have that sort of form of communication with students.
Okay, sounds great. All righty, Ms. Dorsey.
I would just like to take this time to express my condolences to the family in their time of loss. My heart goes out to the parents of the young man. I know that's a hard, something hard to take and get through. So I pray that God will, that God's peace, strength, and comfort will be with them, the family, and the friend, and his friends that have to deal with this. And I will continue to pray for them all.
Okay. Ms. McKenzie?
Sure. One of the things I wanted to mention is I did get to attend CSAC's meeting on October 22nd, and NAMI did too. A great presentation. Again, it was a small turnout, and I just think it's unfortunate, given the quality of information that's provided at those meetings, that more aren't able to benefit from it. But, you know, Dr. Fluke was there, and his co-presenter, who was a longtime participant at NAMI, and the importance of just you know, receiving support from peers who understand what it's like to have a family member struggling with mental health issues and to be able to relate and connect families with resources. I mean, there really are resources all around us. And as a parent who has supported 2 children who've struggled with mental health issues, it really can be, there's a lot of barriers out there to receiving services, and it takes a lot of patience and persistence to get your child to connect with the appropriate provider. And to the point, the gentleman that spoke earlier about our ability to improve our responsiveness, something that I just want to plant a seed for us to start continuing to talk about, because I know we're working on updating the policies and getting that going. We can't do everything all at once. But I have heard about ticketing systems that schools can implement, so that way, you know, if a parent or a student has a concern, to be able to track that concern and then provide some accountability for response time. Because, you know, the bullying forms, they do check a box, but they really are onerous, especially to someone like, for me, I've had to advocate for students with systems professionally, and so I know how to get that work done. But for a parent who's never done that work, to be able to advocate effectively and understand the patience and persistence that it takes and the level of documentation to make a case to then justify an action to be taken, it's a lot. It really is. And so, you know, to be able to make that more mobile, and then to be able to then provide a system of accountability, like, well, who responded to this? I mean, it's just very easy for things when they're in paper format to then kind of get lost in the mix. And and this is just speaking in general. Just again, I've been a Kent County public school parent for a good while now. So this is me speaking as just my experience over the years, where it is challenging, and especially for those, again, who don't come to the table with a certain set of skills, to be able to know how to move that conversation forward, because it's a very emotional conversation. And so again, you know, when you come to the table as a professional, it's easy to have that conversation because I understand how the system works. And, you know, the school's not trying to, everyone's just overwhelmed, right? And so it does take that squeaky wheel to keep it moving. But as a parent who doesn't understand how to persist within that system, it can be extremely frustrating and very easy to give up hope. And so, you know, something that I would like us to really keep talking about is developing some form of accountability so we can be more responsive. So just put that out there.
Like everybody else has said, I want to express my condolences to the family. I also want to express my condolences and support to the Kent County Middle School family, because there's a ripple effect. There is the genesis of that, but then their friends and staff and anybody who's inside that building has been affected one way or the other. Thinking about the public comments that were made tonight and the statement that Dr. McComas made and what Ms. McKenzie has just said, I'm hopeful that we can find something positive out of this, that this is the touchstone for us to, it's sad that it came to this, but that we can be responsive and not reactive, that we can move forward in a positive way that, I don't know, I don't want to say helps us heal, but there's a lot of healing that's going to had to go on for a long time, and people are looking at us to be the leaders, and I think we need to step up and be the leaders. So, and it's, as Ms. McKenzie said, it's a very difficult subject to talk about. There's that fine line about being sensitive to the family and the people that are most directly affected by it, but then our responsibility is to the well-being of the whole Kent County Public School community. And at some point, that students' friends will matriculate to the high school, and they're going to carry that experience with them. So I think we all should, and I'm sure that we are, but we need to be more than just saying we're committed to it. We need to talk about it more often, you know, and not wait for a situation that basically makes us talk about it. We need to continue the conversation. So All righty.
Can I say one more thing?
No, you cannot. You missed your turn. No, go ahead.
But I just wanted to take this opportunity, since we're talking about it, when I ran for the board and I was elected, I wanted bullying on the agenda. And I'm not saying whether or not this had anything to do with bullying, but I am saying that, there's a lot of kids that feel like it did, and there's a lot of kids that's being mistreated in that way. They go through a lot with bullying, and that's part of their everyday, what they have to deal with in school, instead of trying to put their effort into learning. A lot of them are redirected as far as their hopes and their dreams due to bullying. And the only thing I have to say is that when these bullying reports are filed or the children bring it forth, we should take it serious, at least to address it. If we find that there's nothing to it, at least you can say, well, we addressed it, we looked into it, we took the time out just to make sure it wasn't anything to the accusation, instead of us just sweeping it under the rug and it doesn't matter, maybe because that's not my child, or different things about the child that may not be someone that you're really that concerned about. All the children should be important, and the issues that come up throughout a day should be important. It's not like we don't have children that bully one another in the school system. When I was coming up, there were bullies. And it does have a great effect on our children. And I just feel like we're in a place as the adults to do something about it. We're in a place as the adults to correct it. And we shouldn't miss that, because later on it affects our children in ways that, they can't repair it. It's no repair for it. You see people on talk shows that talk about it, how they were bullied, and now they're like 40 years old and they're talking about how it changed their directions. The girl that I work for, she quit school because of bullying. And she's very intelligent, but she never got a chance to finish because bullying was just that. It changed her direction. It changed who she was. And I know if we don't have to deal with that, and we never have to deal with it as far as in our personal lives or our children, we may think it's funny. We may not take it serious. But for someone who does have to deal with that, it's a major situation. It's horrifying. And as parents, a lot of times, they lose trust in the school because they cannot get any help. Or someone just starts to point at them and say they're just a problem now because they keep coming with an accusation, or this happened or that. So now they're the problem. And the bully does not is never addressed. And a lot of times you take the one bully, it's bullying 5 or 6 children. So it's not just one person. I just think it's time for us to take it serious. I believe bullying also hinders teaching in the classroom for our teachers too. So, I know I'm not wrong. I know I'm right. Because I've dealt with this long enough, so I know I'm right. I just need the people who's in the proper position to make a difference. Because children deserve to have a chance to live and be successful as well. And their lives matter, no matter what shade they are, where they come from. It doesn't matter. If we're going to teach them, then they need to be valuable enough for us to care about everybody. I sit on this board, and I don't sit on this board and, just care about one child. I care about all children. And as far as I'm concerned, the school, when I speak of the school, it's our children. So, and it's our students. And that's the way we should feel. And I'm not saying that, everybody's not doing their job, because people care. And they are trying. They make an effort. But sometimes, now we may have to even step it up a little further just to make sure that everybody's being addressed.
Thank you, Ms. Dorsey.
Thank you. Anything else? All righty. The board will meet in a quarterly work session on Monday, November 17th, which is next Monday, beginning at 5:30 p.m. There is no closed session, so we will go.
When I talked with her, she said we would do that in December. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to loop you back, Ms. Manley. Remember, I was
Yeah,
trying to decide.
I'm the her by the board.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
So
When I
anyhow, so
said
we
to the
will
board
go
president.
directly into our regular meeting at 5:30. The next monthly board meeting will be held on Monday, December 8th, beginning at 5:30 with the open session. Open session will be immediately followed by the board members going into a closed session. The open session will resume at 6:30 p.m. These meetings will be located at the administrative building in the boardroom, 5608 Boundary Avenue, Rock Hall, 21661. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Ms. McKenzie made the motion. Let me guess, Ms. Dorsey will make the second. All right, is there any comments? I call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. We are